All right, everyone, I think maybe we'll go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everyone to this March Youth Board Youth Committee meeting. A special warm welcome to any of our youth reps who are on. We're happy to have you, and we'll be talking about the youth reps a little bit later on in the meeting. And just a quick reminder that I have the honor of acting as chair temporarily while Alexa Aviles is running for city council. So I'm following the race closely, and we'll keep you all posted. But thank you for letting me chair in her absence. So without further ado, I'd love to turn it over to the commissioner for his remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone and their family and loved ones are safe and healthy. Since this is the 1-year anniversary of the pandemic, I thought I'd make some observations about where things are at, what role DYCD can and will play, and some thinking about what we're trying to do to storm-proof this agency as we transition to a new administration. By nature, I'm a person who believes in hope for the best, assume and plan for the worst. But for the first time, I really feel optimistic that the end of the pandemic is in sight. When it happened, what it will look like, I think is still to be determined. But I think the momentum is headed in the right direction. As the vaccine supply increases in the next couple of months, I think the challenge will be, and I know Alan Cheng will talk a little bit about this later on, is how to overcome the hesitancy, particularly in communities of color, in the 33 neighborhoods most affected by the pandemic, both health, in terms of cases as well as economically. And if you look at the 33 neighborhoods that have been most affected, that is where DYCD's resources are most invested. So I believe once we shift the paradigm to we have vaccines, but people are not necessarily willing to take it, I think DYCD can mobilize this network of nonprofits to be credible messengers. And we're part of the vaccine equity work group. Denise Williams and Mike Bobbitt are part of it, and they're strategizing of how do we make sure beyond access and things like location of the vaccine sites and navigating a difficult website, how do we overcome the misinformation that is out there and the lack of trust, quite frankly, that exists in many communities of color? The other piece of the equation, I think, is as we move towards recovery, I think DYCD, again, is one of the few agencies in the city that can say its focus is fighting poverty. I'm not sure we discussed this, but early on in this administration, we went through a lengthy process led by Denise Williams to reimagine our mission. If you saw what our mission was, it was a 4-paragraph statement that listed every program we funded. So DYCD's mission is to create opportunities to alleviate the effects of poverty by working with a network of community-based organizations to provide services. We're going to amend it and add the word racism. So the mission statement at the end of this administration will be to create opportunities to alleviate the effects of poverty and racism by working with a network of community-based organizations to provide a variety of services. And the next mayor, whoever he or she may be, while they may have their own agenda, they're going to be confronted with a city that will have greater poverty, greater inequity. And DYCD will be the only city agency that can say that its mission is to fight poverty and racism. Because in all the years I've been with the city, and particularly in the 16 years I've been with DYCD, the fate of this agency hinges on 2 things. One is the state of the economy, because none of the things we offer are mandated by law. So it's not like public education, it's not like police services, not even like homeless services, where you have a legal mandate you can fall back on. And the other thing is what the priorities of the next mayor are. So I think the priorities will be defined by the city that he or she will be governing. And I'm hoping that by positioning DYCD as the only city agency fighting racism and fighting poverty, we can at least make the case, whatever the budget cut is not worth the political pain. I mean, that was the key lesson last summer when I think I've said this, maybe not in this setting, and I'll say it now because I have 8 months left. So what are they going to do? That DYCD became the third rail of local politics. And that's why in this year's budget that was released in late January, when things didn't look so rosy for the city, we got full restoration of the summer youth employment program. And so the only issue that I think will get resolved, which was cut this summer in the preliminary budget, was we had no funding for Sonic summer programs, not even programs that had funding going back to 2011. These were programs started in the Bloomberg administration. And the middle school Sonic programs that started under de Blasio didn't have summer. And it's an annual dance to restore the money. So I'm confident. In fact, the budget director in his testimony last week talked about how things are very different than they were in January. President Biden is about to sign the American Rescue Plan, probably Thursday, which is the day I testified before the city council. And the city is slated to get $5.6 billion in federal aid. And even the budget director talked about the possibility of restoration of some of the things that were left out in the preliminary budget. So from a budget standpoint, I think we're, at least for the remainder of this administration, we're in solid shape. I think the money that was cut in January will get restored and maybe then some. And a couple of sort of updates of things that are happening that you'll probably be hearing about in the next few weeks. The applications for the summer jobs program will go live on March 22nd. So I'm sure we'll be reaching out to you at some point about helping develop either virtual or in-place job sites. Any day now, we're about to open the last runaway homeless youth facility which will bring our total number of beds to 813, which will be tripling from the 253 that we had at the beginning of this administration. We're just waiting for Con Ed to install a meter, and then we can get the license for that. And it could be any day now. Some of those things that will be coming out in the press, and we'll send whatever press coverage we get about that. I'll end there. And if there are any questions that people have, I'll be glad to answer them. But I know we have a packed schedule.
Any questions?
This is a brief question from Melanie Cavallis. Thank you, Commissioner, for that report. I'm glad to hear the optimism around some of these programs being restored. I did see in my own sort of perusing of the mayor's preliminary budget, I think it was a $2 million cut to some of the runaway homeless youth programs. Would you say you also feel confident that those will be, you know, knowing that we don't have guarantees and things change, but do you all feel confident that those will be restored as well? Is that for those some of those programs you mentioned? I'm
not sure if that's true, because I don't think there were any cuts to homeless youth programs. The state is talking about it making a minimal cut, but the state's support of our homeless youth programs is so small, it's laughable. I think our budget, I think 95% of the homeless youth programs are funded by the city. So the only significant cut that even drew any attention at the budget director's testimony was the 5.7 million in the Sonic summer programming for programs that go back to 2011. So I'm not quite sure. You can email Anthony, he can look into it, but I'm not aware of any cuts in homeless youth programs.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll just I'll check the source that I was looking at and see if I was reading that correctly, but I can be in conversation with Anthony about that. Thank you.
Well, Commissioner, we also have Sarah's on the line, Sarah Marks. I don't know if she wanted to add anything. Sarah, did you want to add anything on this?
So my guess on that, without looking at it, is that is we actually do get about $2 million annually from the state, and often we would not put that in the budget until we had confirmation that we were receiving it. So all of the state funds may not have been in the preliminary budget.
And the state budget is not adopted until April 1st. So if the state adds it, then it's reflected in the executive budget in I guess late April. Is Nancy Waxman on the call? Normally she has tons of questions for me.
Nancy couldn't make it this month.
What about Lucy? Lucy always asks questions.
Anyone
No?
else?
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for your leadership during a really tough year last year. We're very lucky to have you, so thank you.
It was a collective effort. I mean, it's truly the DYC staff really stepped it up. I don't think we dropped any balls. The fact that we got summer off the ground last year, literally with a few days' notice, is a testimony to the commitment of the leadership of the agency and all the staff. Everyone kind of stepped up. So it really shows how people care about the work.
Definitely. Well, thanks to you and the whole team. So moving on to the minutes, I'd love to get a motion to approve the minutes. If anyone took a quick look at them, motion to approve. Was that you, George?
Tom Pendleton makes a motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Anyone to second?
Yeah, I second.
Thank you so much. It's nice to see you, Tom. Wonderful, thank you. So moving on, and I'm going to be asking Jeanette Rodriguez and Melanie Crivellis to give us an update on the youth representatives that we brought on last year. And I believe that we may be hearing from some of the youth reps as well. But before I turn it over to them, I just want to thank Jeanette and Melanie and Greg Hambrick, as well as Tracy Garcia from DYCD, for their leadership and really helping to ensure that the youth voice is heard. I know that the board has talked about this for quite a number of years before it actually happened. So just thank you to all four of you for your leadership, and I'll turn it over to you both.
Awesome, thanks. Jeanette, do you want to start and then I can fill in?
Sure, thank you so much. So thank you for that introduction. Really, this couldn't have happened without the incredible partnership with DYCD and just really buying into the vision that the youth voice is really needed in this space. So thank you so much. Reiterating, Liz, what you just said as far as Tracy and her leadership in helping us to identify the youth and their passion in this space. And it became really evident as far as that we wanted this to be an enriching experience. And for that, we really needed to hear what they were interested in, but also level setting as far as like what is actually possible. And in order for that to come to life, in working in partnership with both Tracy and also with Joyce, we can't forget about Joyce's incredible voice in this space as well, identifying projects that were in the works in as far as within the DYCD portfolio, as far as like how can we move projects forward, where we can help and tap into the youth and their expertise and how we can leverage their creativity. We are going to work with both Tracy and wait, actually, we should step back. Melanie, do you want to go over the 4 youth that have been identified in this space and identify them by their names and how we're going to have them in this space?
Sure, happy to jump in here. So yeah, like Jeanette mentioned, we had a great time really getting to know some of these folks. So again, Tracy connected us with folks from the My Brother Sisters Keeper program who are interested in getting more involved with the board and taking on this sort of new role within the board. And so we have a couple of folks that have joined us. So we have Aaliyah Abube, Kyla, and Amadou, who have signed on to take to be a part of this process. And so excited to have them join us. And so, with that, I think one thing to keep in mind is just like the structure of this group. And so the sort of the 7 or 8 of us, I suppose. So again, Kyla, Abube, Aaliyah, and Amadou are the student reps. And then between Jeanette, Greg, and myself and Tracy, we're really working to collaborate and figure out, what shaping what it is that Youth Voice can look like as a part of this board. And so we'll be meeting monthly. So we just had our first meeting last Wednesday. We got to know each other a little bit more and talk through some of the projects that folks might want to be involved in. And I'll note there that some folks from the youth board expressed interest in serving as sort of mentors to some of these young folks who are going to be meeting with us. And we're super grateful for your support on that. And just a quick update there is that we will be, our mentors are sort of sorting amongst themselves their sort of project priorities. And so next month when we meet, we'll be coming back together and see what sort of the interest is for mentorship and their capacity there. And so do expect some communication about that as we move forward along in this process. But Jeanette, was there anything else you wanted me to cover there?
No, that was really great. Well, I guess the messaging that we really want to get across is that we want this to be an enriching experience, not only for the young participants, but also for us, as far as like really adding a new dimension for us to show up at these meetings quarterly as well. So really open to your suggestions throughout this process. We want this to be a two-way conversation. We want you to be involved in this process. This is a new innovative approach as far as for us just as a board. And we're really innovating in a new space. So we encourage the feedback and also your grace in this process, because it's a learning opportunity for all of us as we are embarking on this adventure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions? Comments? Okay, well, thank you, Jeanette and Melanie. And, yeah, we just really look forward to engaging. And please know that, we know that the youth are busy. So even if they don't want to take on a formal, mentorship role, I know, in all the boards that I serve on, we have young professional committees or junior boards or that type of thing. All of the board members are accessible to them. Our bios, thanks to Andre, are all updated on the DYC website. So we are all available, even just for a quick 30-minute chat if one of us is in a field that they might want to hear more about. So I have 2 teens. I know, how busy our youth are, but just know that we're all around even for informal connections. So moving on. Oh, good. Yeah, good.
I was just going to say thank you for that. And before we hopped off of that, I wanted to pause and just see if any of our youth reps, again, sorry, I'm not on video.
Yes.
Microsoft team issues, but if any of them did want to speak a little bit, feel free to unmute and go ahead.
They all had work today, but I was off today, so just gonna be representing them today. So yeah. MBSK, my brother's sister's keeper.
Okay,
wonderful. Thanks for saying hi.
And I could hop in as well. I know, hi Kyla. I know that, the young people from MBSK are so excited and thrilled to work with you all, but also really excited to know the level of investment. It's great for young people to have purview into the adults, like the locomotive behind all of the thinking and strategizing to create opportunities for young people. So the work that's happening with MBSK and the board, it will be a great example across the agency for a few things, as far as adult youth opportunities, strategizing to make sure that youth voice is embedded in decisions that are impacting youth. And the opportunity for, as we said, mentorship, so that young people could gain and expand the skills that they already have, so that when they get to the point that they could be mentors for the future generation. So I know I speak for Kyla's excitement and for the rest of the members, just to say that this is a great opportunity and we look forward to seeing how this unfolds.
Thank you, Joyce. Thanks so much. So I think we'll move on to the next item, which I know everyone's probably very excited to hear about. So as we all know, obtaining the COVID-19 vaccine is really critical to the city's recovery and our way out of this pandemic. To give us some insight into the city's vaccination efforts and DYCD's role in it, I'd love to welcome Alan Cheng, who is DYCD's Deputy Commissioner for Administration, Chief Operating Officer, and also DYCD's vaccine lead, just to give us an update on, in general, the city in general, but also DYCD's role.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you for the introduction. I'm also in charge of reopening our offices too, so
wow, a lot
which
of
is why
hats.
I was in the office today and just making sure that everything is ready to go. But happy to join everybody. Tom, it's good to see you. I know we've had some email exchanges, but you look good. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go over just a couple of things here related to what DYCD has been doing as well as the city. I hope you can see it on my screen. If you can, just say so.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, you can. Great. Sorry, I'm going to start here. So as you all know, and if you've been paying attention to what's going on in the news, our country's made a significant progress since December to roll out vaccines to to most of the population. We're still slowly getting there. You've heard some starts and stops with the weather and with supply, but overall I can say that and I've witnessed it firsthand. I've myself gotten vaccinated, both doses, and I've also worked at a vaccination site about, let's see, I've done it about 5 times now. So got to see a lot of happy New Yorkers walking away with that protection. And I want to start off by just sharing overall what the city's been doing with the vaccination efforts. And currently, we go by New York State eligibility. I said most New Yorkers, most Americans, but every state has their own rules. You've seen, probably Dr. Fauci and a lot of other folks talk about some of this stuff. But in New York State, right now it's groups 1A and 1B. And 1B has been very, very, I guess it's a moving target, if you will. They've added a lot of folks at first. So 1A were all of our essential workers, our frontline medical staff, firefighters, uniformed services, and people, just all folks in healthcare. And then when 1B started in early January, that included a lot of our educators, folks who work in the school system, childcare, facilities. And then within that flurry of activity over one weekend, a lot more folks were added. It included anyone who was originally 75 and older, and then it was 65 and older. Then it included, over time, also included grocery store workers, taxi limousine drivers, and now it includes folks with comorbidities, different underlying health conditions. And today, a couple more groups were added, and we're still waiting to find out a little bit more. But now the age is 60 and above. Starting tomorrow, it'll be 60 and above. And then starting next Monday, a lot of government employees will also be eligible. Those who are, as they call, public-facing essential workers, as well as folks who work in building management services. And I would assume that is part of the reason is to get a lot of those important folks back into the workplace so that they can prepare buildings and really prepare for the rest of the workforce to go back in. So that's the current eligibility. If I missed a couple of groups, we can talk about it in Q&A later. So far, as of this morning, the city, and I stress that this is the city-operated sites, have been administered over 1.2 million first doses and over 700,000 second doses. And the state sites have added another probably about 300,000 to 400,000, I would say, first doses to that number, and probably another 100 or 150,000 second doses to that number you see there. So we're on our way to getting a lot of New Yorkers vaccinated, which is great. I have a link here. If you, I could, we'll share this deck at the end, but you can navigate to that link, and it basically gives you all the data you ever would want to find out about how the vaccine effort is going in the city. And it even has maps of zip codes and everything else by zip code of how many folks have been vaccinated in each zip code. As I mentioned, the only way to have gotten so much of these vaccines out is that we've opened hundreds of vaccination sites, and a lot of them are in high schools. A lot of the city-run hospitals offer them, as well as private hospitals. They've expanded the network to include a lot of chain pharmacies that, for federal program, can administer. They're administering the vaccines to older New Yorkers, 65 and older. And there's also sites that are specific to borough residents. There are sites that are specific to government employees. There are a few 24/7 sites that just opened, including the Javits, Yankee Stadium, and soon Citi Field. I believe also the Brooklyn Armory is going to be 24/7 as well. Right now we have 3 vaccines that are now available. You've heard this probably already, but this weekend we rolled out the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which was just approved last week. And that's for a single dose vaccine. And already we've gotten thousands of people vaccinated with that. There's being distributed specifically right now at these 24/7 sites during the evening hours. Also, hot off the press, the city has rolled out a vaccination effort for homebound seniors, and there is information that's now on the city's website. We can also share that later, that where homebound seniors can sign up, and they will get a call, and they will be asked certain questions where, if they're deemed eligible, the city will basically schedule probably a member of the FDNY or somebody from the hospital's system to come to the homes of homebound seniors and give them the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So how is our agency supporting this effort? We've done a few things. The commissioner mentioned that we are part of a number of task force, including the Racial Inclusion and Equity Task Force. You've probably also heard on the news that there are certain neighborhoods in the city where, if you go to that website I shared earlier, you can see that there are zip codes where the uptake of vaccinations is much lower. And unfortunately, they're largely communities of color, communities of higher poverty, and the city is really focusing efforts in those particular zip codes by opening more sites in the vicinity of those communities, as well as having pop-up sites and more information campaigns that are directed at those communities. As in my introduction, I am part of I'm the DYCD rep in the Vaccine Command Center at City Hall, where we meet almost every other day talking about these efforts and just looking at how every agency can play a different role, and every agency is represented in this task force. So what else has DYCD done? We've advocated for inclusion of a lot of our CBO staff. DYCD has thousands of contracts with hundreds of nonprofits throughout the city, and we felt that a lot of them have been out there in the front lines. They've been operating and providing services in person. So we advocated, and they were included in some of those eligibility categories, as well as we made them eligible to be vaccinated at the city employee sites. So because they are basically representatives of the city in providing these services. So those included a lot of our after school programs, including the Learning Labs program that you may have heard about, which provides services to young people who are learning remotely on the days that they are remote. We've also included our runaway homeless youth shelter staff, as well as our food program staff. So, and that list is going to probably grow with this this latest announcement regarding public-facing essential services. So, we had a lot of a few of our cornerstone community centers that have opened up and served as popped-up vaccination sites at night shift developments. And DYCD staff, over 60 of them, have volunteered to serve at different vaccination sites. So, you know, and our agency is not that big. We have about 500 people. So 60 is a good number of people from our staff. And that number keeps growing because, as you know, right now they're in flux. They're trying to figure out where to relocate some of these vaccination sites. As you've probably heard, high schools are supposed to be reopening in about a week or so. So, and a lot of these sites are located in high schools. So we're waiting to find out where they're going to be relocated, and then they will probably be putting out for more volunteers. We also do a lot of communications and just providing information to both our providers as well as our agency staff. In fact, at our last town hall meeting with the entire agency, we had a doctor from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene come and speak to all of our staff, educating them about the vaccines and just you know, just reassuring folks about the safety of the vaccines and how they can get one and who's eligible, and took a lot of questions. We've had similar type presentations to a lot of our providers as well in different program portfolios. And we also provide information via, you know, just all the different means that we can, whether it's email, social media, whatever, to our providers, our CBO providers, so that they know when they're eligible, where they can go to get vaccinated. So this is just you know, highlighting some of the main things that we've done as an agency. And at this time, I am going to open it up for questions and answers, and also any suggestions that you may have with how we can do just, you know, an even greater job at getting the word out and helping folks get vaccinated. So thank you for your time. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Yes, in the communities of color where we're having a lot of trouble getting people vaccine, what's the procedure for letting people know that they're going to be vaccines on that date or at that location, like at the Cornerstones and other locations? How's that communicated to the community?
So with the Cornerstones, I can speak to that. That they do a lot of advanced, I guess you could say, marketing, or just you know, posting flyers, as well as dropping, dropping messages in different meetings. It's in terms of how the word is getting out to in terms of the sites that the city's running. That's largely done by City Hall. Has an entire group that does communications and community affairs, and they're spearheaded by a lot of the City Hall community affairs staff. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Yesterday, they were sharing with us all the in-person presentations they've done at different groups, as well as virtual presentations. All the marketing collateral that they've printed. It would look like it was like over 1 million pieces of collateral that were mailed out to specifically to those communities in different languages. And they've also partnered with some of our CBOs, a lot of the CBOs, to get the word out, in particular to those communities that I had talked about.
How satisfied are you with the results? What kind of results are we having? Not the traditional places, but the places that are not traditional healthcare centers.
When you're talking about the results in terms of the vaccination sites?
Yeah,
themselves?
vaccinations. Yes.
Like how the experience is, or just like the numbers?
Are people replying, let's say, to our Cornerstones and other places? Are people coming? Are we happy with the results? And how many people are showing up? Typically, I know it varies, but how's the response?
Oh, the response has been pretty good overall. I mean, I can't, like you said, it varies from site to site, community to community, but overall, it looks like the city, you know, I worked at a site on Friday in Queens. We saw over 1,200 people in the 12-hour period. So if you multiply that by all the high schools themselves, you know, like that's 15, that's, you know, that's a significant number of New Yorkers that are getting vaccinated. I believe that I want to share, I don't want to misquote, but there was a number that was shared where we were hitting somewhere around that we can at capacity serve 500,000 New Yorkers a week in terms of getting them vaccinated. So that's if, you know, all these sites are up and running with the adequate supplies. The one thing I'll say that we're not satisfied with is the supplies. You know, I know personally, and having seen it, that we've had to cancel appointments when the federal government supplies were delayed. When, you know, during the snowstorms a couple of weeks ago, we had, at the site that I was working at, we had 1,500 appointments. We had to cancel more than half of them. So we ended up only seeing 700 people that day. And we only hadn't had second doses available for folks. So that's been the biggest problem. I think that everything else, if you go to one of these sites, I've heard nothing but positive things. People feel that the city's, you know, organizing this pretty well. There's special accommodations made for people who speak other languages, people who have difficulty in terms of mobility. We get them to the front of the line. We have different people there translating and just, you know, walking people through the whole thing. And there's mental health counselors there. There's EMTs there at every site. There's security. It's a very positive experience for folks who do end up getting those appointments and getting in their hands on a supply of vaccine.
Good, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, at this point when the supply is still lagging demand, I think we're doing the best we can. And I think, you know, for example, one of the things the state did, which I thought was interesting, they partnered with FEMA and they opened up mass vaccination sites at York College in Queens, in the heart of a African American community, and at Medgar Evers College, again in the heart of an African American community. And not only did that make it easier for people to get to, because sometimes, you know, getting to Chase City Field or Yankee Stadium may not be the easiest place to get to. If it's in your neighborhood or a train stop or two away, it makes it easier. The other thing which I thought was interesting is that the MTA actually had special buses from Far Rockaway and from Van Dyke public housing developments to get people to the sites in Queens and Brooklyn. So I think the city and state are doing everything they can to make sure that the high risk groups of people in the hardest hit neighborhoods are going to get access to vaccines. As I said earlier, though, in a couple of months, when the vaccine supply increases exponentially, the big challenge will be how do you overcome the disinformation and the hesitancy that younger people, younger meaning under 40, I think, among communities of color, they're resisting or they just don't trust government for a lot of good reasons. And that's going to be the challenge.
Any other questions? Yeah, please, Anthony, go.
Just a comment, I think related to that around how to get the word out. I think everyone's realizing that a key here is trusted messengers, credible messengers. There's been several surveys done where, you know, they ask people, what's your willingness to get the vaccine? And there are those that say, yeah, I'm going to get it right away. But then there's also, I'm thinking about one study that the Association for Better New York issued, you know, about a month or two ago, where they said about another third said, well, I'll get it after I know someone that's gotten it. So I think the Department of Health and Mental Health, they've been setting up these trainings, like train the trainer trainings, which kind of, you know, puts out more information about just the vaccine itself. But I think towards that end, what we're thinking about internally is, you know, as Alan mentioned, we have a fair amount of staff now who've gotten the vaccine because they were in the eligible categories or they worked, you know, at one of the city's pods. that we want ourselves to do a campaign internally to connect those employees who may be a little hesitant or on the fence, or even have questions about it, even if they're willing to get the vaccine. Like, just what was your experience like? Well, what happened after the first dose, after the second dose? Because that really, I think, plays into the idea of credible messengers, knowing someone that you work with, you live with, you have personal relationships with, and hearing that they had a good experience, I think can compel those to kind of move forward. And I think even on our call at our staff town hall with a doctor from DOHMH, we noticed in the chat that some people, upon hearing the information and just even hearing that there were other people who got their shot internally because they were entering information in the chat, there was one or two employees who afterwards were said, you know what, I think I will get the shot. So it's that type of, I think, sustained effort in connecting people that who've gotten the vaccine to those who maybe still have questions, that I think is really going to be key here to overcoming some of that hesitancy out there.
I do have two additional questions here, and thank you for this report. It's been really helpful. So one is around, how people are signing up to get the vaccine. I know that there's been issues in terms of, the city has a website, the state has a website, there's been volunteers who put together their own website. So just getting an update on sort of a centralized place where folks can get information about the vaccines and where things are at with that. So that's one question. And then the second question I have is sort of along the lines of, especially knowing that, some of the folks that DYCD serves may be sort of, depending on their own jobs and personal health situations, they might be later they might be the general public, some of these young people in terms of getting the shot. And so just wondering what plans there are to, communicate not only with staff, but some of the young people in the programs about getting the vaccine and the importance of it.
Sure. So I'll tackle the first question. You're absolutely right. I don't know how it is in other states. I've only heard a little bit about New Jersey, but it is very confusing to have multiple places for folks to sign up. Another big complaint is that, beyond the first responders who are eligible, the next big group were our older New Yorkers. And, the difficulties that they may have with technology. And, the only way to sign up was really to go through that website, which was very confusing. It took me and my wife a long time to navigate. So I can only imagine I had to do it for my parents, so, if you didn't have somebody like that in your family, you were kind of stuck. And I'm still trying to help my next door neighbor to get vaccines. They're both over 80. And so it's, you're right. It was very frustrating. I think that the city has tried to do a lot to. There's no way of avoiding the multiple websites because the state has their own their own facilities and own program, and the pharmacies have their own program. They're getting their vaccines directly from FEMA, from the federal government, through a program specifically for older citizens, and they have to track things separately. So, but the New York City site, the Vaccine Finder NYC.gov site, does have all of those locations in one place. So, and I have that link in my slide, which which we'll share later. When you go in there, you see all the pharmacies, you see all of the FEMA and the New York State sites, and it has a direct link to go to those places to sign up. That's the best we could do, was to try to at least put that information on one map, one site. You still have to, unfortunately, navigate into some of these other places. Like, for instance, if you want to go, you find something at Walgreens, you're going to have to create an account with Walgreens and then, sign up and schedule. That's very frustrating. I'm really grateful for those private citizens who've helped a lot of New Yorkers and other folks around the country by gathering some of that information and creating their own websites. But it is difficult. There's definitely a lot of bureaucracy. We're doing our best to try to get that done. To address the issue of the technology, the city has put out a toll-free number that from what I've heard from people that I've referred to call that number, you give it a couple of tries, you usually get a live person, and they're usually able to book something for you. And that's the 877 Vax for NYC site. There's also a state site as I mean, not site, line. There's also a state line as well. So those are two ways that's being done. But yeah, you're right. It was frustrating in the beginning, but I think we're getting there. And more people as we open it up. I'm guessing that once we open up to much younger people, they're gonna have less frustrations than others, but it is still a problem. And they're also translating the sites, by the way. Sorry, I didn't mention that. They're putting there's different software in there that translates sites into different languages. So that's being put out there. The second question regarding younger people, we're definitely excited about that. Right now, the vaccines, just so everybody knows, they've only been tested for 18 and older. So we are not administering the vaccines to anybody under 18, but that is being tested right now up from 12 through 17 for all three of the vaccines. So the expectation is that hopefully by summer or before summer, that those all pass and we can start administering age 12 to 17 young people, and then we will definitely need to focus on a campaign for them. One of the ways that we can really get our young people on board, and we've started thinking about this, are some of the summer jobs that we might be able to create that are related to vaccination, whether it's creating awareness campaigns or PSAs, or actually maybe even potentially working at a vaccination site so they could see what's going on, and then maybe they could become credible messengers as well back to their friends and their peers.
I think that's great. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I really like that idea, especially leveraging some of the summer youth jobs. I know with some of the young people that we work with slightly older young people, ages 18 to 24, but there's definitely been interest in getting work with some of these vaccine sites. I know some who applied for even just different volunteer opportunities. So I think there would be interest, especially with folks who might have otherwise, lost employment during this period. So glad to hear those strategies being floated around.
So the city just announced today, and Alan can send you the announcement of the vaccine corps. And I think it's 2,000 jobs that I assume the city is going to pay with stimulus money to staff vaccine sites. From clerical and administrative support positions to clinicians. So some of the young people you're working with may want to apply for the administrative and support jobs at vaccine sites. It was just got announced like 2 hours ago.
Excellent, great. Yeah, I'll be happy to share that with them as well.
Any more questions for Alan? Alan, thank you so much. I feel like we have to bring you back to our next meeting for a second for another update. This has been so helpful, just really seeing DYCD's role and just the broader. So thank you for your time and all of your effort. So moving on to, I know something that's important to all of us, engagement opportunities in upcoming DYCD events. So I'm thrilled that Joyce Duverce is going to be speaking to us again. Joyce is DYCD's Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships. And as you know, she and her team implemented DYCD's signature citywide events and has been, but last spring, they had to go virtual, and a lot of them continued, which is great. We've heard about a lot of them, and they will be virtual again this year for now. So Joyce, I just want to turn it over to you to share some upcoming events and maybe ways that we can get involved.
For sure, and I would just love to start with just thanking you all again for the continued investment and listening ear. This is a great place to kind of hear about the thoughts around the work that we do. and a great place so that we can continue creating opportunities for integration and synergy around our work. So today I just wanted to showcase for you some of the upcoming opportunities, not only for our young people, but also the opportunities we create for our families, our mother and fathers, that ecosystem that supports the young person to make sure that that sustainable, holistic programming is occurring. So I'm going to share my screen, or attempt to, and hopefully you see. I'm going to say yes, we see, because I see.
We see
yes.
it. Thank you. Yep.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to take you through our very brief menu here, and always open at the tail of this call. If there are any other ideas or ways that you would think that you could integrate from any of your layers of expertise, we're absolutely open to hear that. But some of the signature opportunities we were talking about, Young Sharks, it's something I came and presented. I see the smiles. Something I presented in the past. It's our youth entrepreneurship initiative. This year, we were able to create 3 separate tracks. So not only the social entrepreneurship, which I've spoken to in the past, where young people are creating pipelines to sustainable social careers. And we've seen some great examples in the past, from creating apps to prevent bullying, to creating an actual moving workshop where young people and families could get resources needed at time for any disconnected or displaced family. We're continuing with that track, but also wanting to make sure we're reaching the different populations in a different way. You could be a young shark. We are educating young people, providing workshops on how to create a great portfolio and track to go into college, and also partnered with Sony Music to show the career opportunities behind the mic. So these are 3 separate tracks, amazing opportunities, amazing places for judges or speakers. So anyone on this board who would love to be a listening ear to hear young people pitch not only their social entrepreneurship ideas, but also talk about their portfolio management as they enter into college, or as they're creating their portfolios to be leveraging careers behind the mic. These are opportunities you could be there. And also, if you're an entrepreneur yourself, or have pipelines to other people that can speak to this, the great, amazing ways of creating your own sustainability and your own career path, speaker opportunities are open there as well. The extent of being able to provide, I guess, the speaker and mentorship part of it is between April and May. I could provide, if anyone's interested, just the different connection points into that. But a static date that we have is June 4th as that final place where young people are going to come present their presentations and prototypes. We've had members in the past sit on a panel of judging. It's amazing. It's very vibrant. You get to hear people in a virtual space pitch their ideas. You'll be able to support as a judge and give feedback, at-time feedback to young people. So that's a great opportunity. The second one, the Lewis Gardner Acosta Grants, is a very exciting initiative that we have. It is a tribute to Mr. Acosta, which was a pioneer in Williamsburg that created an opportunity to bridge the gap in Williamsburg from race to socioeconomic, and created a very thriving program called El Puente. In honor of him, we created grants where young people could actually live civically in their communities and create community service projects to impact their communities. And I want to say I believe this became a part of the discussion with Jeanette, Melanie, and Greg, where some of our MBSK members partners with us in the past to be able to release an application, receive responses from other young people on how they plan to lift community service projects in their communities. And MBSK was part of that deciding body to present the grants to the young people. This is a great opportunity for anyone that could lend an eye to be a reviewer of the application, speakers to what's the importance of civic engagement to a community, and mentors for the MBSK members that will be working with us on this project between April and June. The bulk of the applications come in May. And we hope that the projects will exist between May and June. So it's an opportunity to come in any 3 of those facets. As I said when I first started to talk, the next 2, Barbershop Talk and Community Moms, is opportunities that we built in the agency to support our ecosystem around our young people. The Barbershop Talk series is an amazing effort partnered with our fatherhood program in DYCD, where on a monthly basis, young fathers and adult fathers come in to talk about issues and any barriers they're facing in creating positive relationship with the young people in their lives. It's a great opportunity for anyone to come in and either attend just to provide support and or be a speaker to speak about your own experiences on any one of the topics as you navigate as being a parent or a mentor or a big brother in your own life. The next opportunity is on March 30th, and I believe they're talking about any barriers they're facing towards employment. We're trying to build a very robust agenda that day and getting folks to come in and talk about key skills that they could develop from resume building, filling in the gaps on a resume, how to navigate a job search in this virtual space, so that we make sure that the young fathers and the adult fathers have the tools that they need. As we hear that hopefully there will be an uptake in employable opportunities this coming summer. Community moms we're excited about as well. It's a way to recognize the many different hats our community moms wear. And I just want to make sure that I'm emphasizing a community mom as any mother figure in the community that's working with a young person in a positive way. It's a featured event on May 13th. It would be great to have speakers and attendees, a great space to just talk about how you're navigating as a woman in your employment space, in your personal space, any civic engagement or social cause opportunities. We're trying to get Jessica Seinfeld, as you know, she's a strong advocate on women's issues and strong in philanthropy. So we're trying to get her to be a part of it. But we don't need just the big name of Seinfeld. As any member or any one of you could come in just to talk about it, recognizing the efforts of community moms or women that provide a space of mentorship. And the big two that often comes every year, the film festival and Step It Up. I'll speak to them in tandem because they're the biggies, right? Film festival is what it is. Young people are creating films, and this year is going to be even more exciting because they're going out with their own devices, their phones, to create films centered in their community, about them, for them. They put it in, they submit it, we feature their works. Last year, we were able to turnkey this very quickly in a virtual space. It was really exciting to see. We created it like it was any of the other award shows that you see in a virtual space, where we had celebrity breaks where young people were able to come talk about just the different things that they're doing in their community. Judges were able to give feedback. It's a great way to just celebrate young people content and their creativity. That's going to happen May 26th. So anyone that would love to just kick back, maybe grab a bowl of popcorn and just watch some films and just be able to judge. And when I say judge, it's providing support and just be able to select, if you can, some of the best films that the young people submit. You are welcome. Same thing with Step It Up. It's eye-pleasing. It is a dance and step competition, but all centered around a social cause. It is going virtually as well. And this one we are looking to have on June 17th. And, you know, there are different ways to partner with this one. Not only are we looking for judges, but I know we have conversations to see if we could have some very unique moments in unique spaces where we could bring the competing teams forward and together, so we could kind of stream it virtually for everyone there. So this is like a rough calendar. I could share it with Anthony, he could get it to you all, but it's just a place where you kind of look and kind of think over and seeing the different ways that, if you can, connect with us. And again, if there are any opportunities that I haven't mentioned, any other ways you think you can collaborate with us, we are more than excited and open to have you. So I don't know if there are any questions.
Hi, this is Nyla. I have just one quick question regarding the Sony partnership. Can you talk a little for Young Sharks? Can you talk a little bit more about that, and what are the benefits of partnering with them? What do they provide, and what do you look for in partners for these type of events?
Oh, great question. So the Sony project is a 10-week project where about 30 participants go into weekly workshops with representatives from Sony, and it's from a span of the music industry. They actually had artists come speak about their experience in navigating through the artist side, but you also had the marketing side, the content development, the engineers. So they kind of broke down the facets of music production, and they worked with 30 participants to kind of learn the different ways so you could have a viable career in music. Beyond that, they also donated headphones, and that was just kind of like an offshoot when they're working with the young people, and the people were able to say the different needs that they had in working with the project. When looking for any of these partnerships, is to identify a need from the young person, need and interest from our young people. Music is something that when completing a survey on their side, they said they were interested in and in learning. Whenever they create a bucket for us, we always try to identify the learning opportunity. And when we talk about sustainability, we want to land to see how this could build to something more than outside of just a great exercise or a great activity. So when partnering with folks, we meet them where they are, what they're able to provide, and then we develop the content with them and seeing how they're able to actually partner with us to deliver a series for the young people. So that, in short, is the Sony project. It happens in 3 iterations. So we had 2 already. We're going to finish the spring one out here in June. And we connected it with the young sharks because we are constantly talking to our young people about the different ways you could create an amazing career. And we're hoping next year that we're going to add a sports track to our Young Sharks platform.
Got it. Okay. And then, Anthony, will you let us know how to express interest in participating as a judge or a speaker?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I would say if any of you you're hearing Joyce's presentation, want to throw your hat in now, let us know right now. But if not, if you want to think about it further, we can forward this out again, and then you can get your names to myself and Andre, and we'll connect you to Joyce afterwards.
Great.
That's great, Anthony. Thanks, because I think everyone can look at the list and match it up with their calendars. So appreciate you getting that out to everyone.
I see there's also a question in the chat from Kyla about how can one sign up for the project? I assume that means, Kyla, you want to say more about your question, meaning how to participate in one of these, like participate in the Young Sharks or?
So I was listening to her describe about the program with Sony and how young musicians get a chance to converse with other artists. Well, I actually do play instruments. I play 4, and I was like, wow, that could be like a great opportunity for me. And I was asking, is there a possibility that I could actually sign up for that?
Absolutely, Kyla. You know what we're going to do? We're going to have a conversation offline, and we're going to connect you. So Tracy Garcia, I know you work very closely with Tracy. She has these opportunities at her fingertips, so we could absolutely connect you.
Okay, that would be amazing.
Thank you, Kyla.
It all started here. We can all say that we were here when this happened, when she becomes famous.
I know, right? You heard it here first.
Yes.
Any last questions for Joyce? Okay, great. Well, thank you. It's so nice to have these actionable opportunities, so we really appreciate it. We have finished just a few minutes ahead of schedule, which is wonderful. And I just wanted to open it up to the floor if anyone had any comments or any other business. Anything on your mind? Jackie, anything on your mind there?
This is Tom. I just wanted to say, Elizabeth, thank you for stepping in and taking over the leadership of this group. And you did a fabulous job today leading the meeting, and thank you.
Thank you for your kind words. And I actually, wanted to thank Jordana Lee as well, who's on the executive committee, and also Peter McCree for his input. You know, we really welcome, we really want this to be a meaningful experience for all of you and to be helpful to DYCD. So please, you know, give us your thoughts on anything you'd like to see or more of, or get involved. We'd love to hear it. So thanks, Tom. Anything else, Anthony or Andre?
I have nothing else.
Okay, well, you all get 20 minutes back in your lives. So enjoy. And thank you. It was great seeing everyone. And thanks to our speakers.
Thank you. Bye.
Everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.